the network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is EdTech, episode 27, recorded Monday, May 19th, 2014. Haters Gonna Hate. EdTech is brought to you by Middle Atlantic Products and their new customer-focused website, Middle Atlantic Products, what great systems are built on. This is EdTech, the education-focused podcast brought to you by the fine folks at AVNation. Hello, my name is Tim Albright. I'm your host. With us, as always, that gentleman right there is Scott Tyner. He is a technology manager for Bates College, a fine blogger for rave pubs, and a wonderful human being. How are you, sir?
I'm doing very well.
He's also breaking up something for yourself.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, it's already started. Yeah, Greg Brown is also here.
It's going to be a long show.
It's going to be a very long show. Greg Brown is here from UCLA. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, and apparently my internet connection is fine too.
Well, you know, you're in California.
Got a mosquito in here, but
and you know, Scott's in Maine, where they have two squirrels running their internet. So, what's up?
I'm sure the mosquito is Tyner's fault.
How is the mosquito? Why we were already going off the rails? How is the mosquito Tyner's fault?
And this is different from how?
Well, it's not. I have to admit that.
We don't have mosquitoes here. Generally don't have mosquitoes here.
What?
We don't have mosquitoes here.
Seriously?
Yeah, seriously.
You're in California. It's like tropical city.
Yeah, well, it's too dry. Unless you have like a defunct swimming pool, we don't have mosquitoes generally.
Wow.
Yeah.
You learn something new here on EdTech. California doesn't have mosquitoes.
Sunny every day except for today. That's why everybody wants to live here. That's why it takes me an hour to get home in the evening.
An hour. Poor thing.
All 20 minutes, or 20 miles of it.
Well, that's the traffic. That's the price you pay for living in Southern California.
For living in paradise.
Yeah. That apparently doesn't have mosquitoes. That really is paradise. I never knew that California didn't have. Is it Southern California or just California in general doesn't have mosquitoes?
I mean, you have mosquitoes if you're up like in the woods where there are lakes and stuff like that. But down here in the valleys and the basins, it's way too dry. It's the desert. You really, you know, if unless you have some sort of water, you don't. So when I made that trip to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan with an ex-girlfriend a few years, well, she wasn't an ex-girlfriend at the time, a few years ago, and you had all these folks who were born and raised in Michigan and used to fending off mosquitoes. I was the prime target and had a really miserable time.
Well, you know,
not all of it connected directly to the mosquitoes, but much of it.
I will point out that there was an ex-girlfriend part in there. Okay. Back on track here. AVNation and all their podcasts are brought to you by Middle Atlantic Product and their new customer-focused website, Middle Atlantic Products, what great systems are built on. And I have a little
we talk about AV at some point in here, right?
Correction, we do. Correction to make on the commercial. I mentioned over the weekend on our AV Week podcast that their chat feature of their new website probably only goes until 5 p.m. Eastern. It does not. It goes until 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So people on the West Coast, if you want to chat with them, Greg, you could do so until the end of your working day. So that's exciting. All right, let's just get this thing going. Let's kick it off with one of our favorite punching bags, Smart Technologies. Yay! They have a flat panel. Yay! It looks an awful lot like an InFocus Mondo pad. Yay! Okay, guys.
Hey, I didn't say that. I'll probably say plenty of disparaging things here in a minute, but I didn't say that.
No, but it is. It looks
actually it does. It's the same size, isn't it?
Well, Mondo pad. Mondo has InFocus has a few different sizes of Mondo pad, right? And they have different variations. They have just a dumb pad, a dumb display, and then they have the thing that has all the Windows stuff built into it. So InFocus has a few more different SKUs than Smart does. Scott, we'll kick it off with you because I know what Greg's going to say, and we'll leave the beating up part for the end. This feels desperate to me. Is it kind of a desperate move, or is it Smart actually being intelligent and developing themselves a little bit further than just the smart boards?
I guess I'm missing the part where they've really gone anything beyond what their smart boards have been. I mean, I guess it's a monitor.
Yeah.
Which is the only difference. I think that it's. I don't even know if it's desperate. I sometimes want to know if Smart even knows, what the world thinks of them at this point, or if they're just.
Oh, jeez.
If they're just moving right along in the same business model they've always had, and don't realize that pretty soon they're going to look back and there's nobody buying their stuff. And again, it's to me, it's just about really looking at what people are using and why they're using it and how they're using it. But again, the last piece I'll say is it's entirely possible that our K-12 schools still use Smart a lot and think they're great. I know my local K-12 schools don't, but maybe out there in the mosquito-less California they do.
Well, and Scott makes a good point. The fact that these are just the smart boards put on monitor form, which from my experience with our education, our higher ed, K through 12, you're right. It's a love-hate relationship. They love the fact what they do, but they hate moving around the actual physical, smart boards. So, which is where MondoPad came in originally as a solution. Mr. Brown, give me your thoughts on this new smart technology display.
Well, I agree with everything you guys have said. I think Scott was right on there. I mean, Smart's kind of the AV equivalent of a buggy whip manufacturer at this point, I think, and they just don't realize it. Personally, I think Smart could, at this point, come up with something that doubled my paycheck and cut my workload in half, and I would have serious reservations about recommending them to anybody.
Wow.
Yeah, they're probably my least favorite company to deal with. We tried to buy some boards from them, or we were interested in some boards a couple years ago. The only way we could look at one was to gather all the faculty who were interested in using it and drive out to their facility about an hour and a half away. That's where we could go and see one. That obviously didn't happen, and we went with some boards from another manufacturer. And just recently, I had some folks who were looking at interactive projectors, and I knew of the Smart, and called up to see whether we could get a demo. And that was about 2-3 months. Well, it's been a while ago now, and I have not gotten a call back on that one. And meanwhile, that department's buying the brand new Epson Interactive, which they were able to get a demo of, strangely enough. So I think they're a miserable company to deal with, and my last choice for anything.
Wow.
Tell me how you really feel.
Yeah.
Greg, if you keep this up, they might call and ask you to be on a commercial for them.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So Tim, add them to that long list of people who won't be sponsoring our program.
Oh, it's a really long list. They're at the top, I guess. And honestly, in all seriousness, it kind of goes back to a conversation we've had a couple different times, and both of you have written about this in the last month or so, about the customer experience and about servicing the technology managers and honestly the true end users of this product, because you can go by all the integrators in the world, right? If the technology manager doesn't specify your product, if they don't like dealing with your customer service at the end of the day, you're not going to get on the bid spec, right?
Absolutely. And the other thing you got to realize with products like this, like with either an interactive whiteboard or an interactive projector, you're talking about something that the faculty is going to interface with on a pretty personal level. I know we're going to start giggling here in a minute, probably, but I mean that's a very first-hand interactive experience. It's not like video projectors where resolution, brightness, it kind of boils down to really basic sort of stuff. The faculty is going to want to use these things and try out these things and see exactly how they work and how they feel about using them. And unless you get a few people in a meeting who have done that, your product is never going to be specified. I mean, maybe there a whole lot of things on the K through 12 level are done by somebody in the administration somewhere specifying it, and so it gets rolled out to the entire school district. Maybe this has been their salvation for all these years.
But you can only do that. Yeah. Go ahead, Scott.
No, I think that's what it is, and I think that's why it's still K-12. Because I think the other piece about coming and showing you the product is that they then get to hear your reaction to it, and so they can make a better product.
Yes. Right.
And they don't seem to be doing that. What they are doing is that every time it comes out, the product is just more software heavy and overloaded, and we are now actually taking our symposiums out of classrooms that we had them in because they're too expensive and nobody uses them.
Yeah, and you're right about the bloated software. It takes more and more resources every time. So, all right, guys, let's talk about another one of our. I shouldn't poke this because I actually do like a lot of Extron's products. This is their XTP 90-degree HDMI connector for wall-mounted displays. Here's the thingy that makes this special. I am showing this in the video. Do you see this part right here? That's a freaking HDMI connector that doesn't stick out from the wall, right? So when you plug in the freaking HDMI connector, it's not a trip hazard, or at least not as much. So they have that. They also have this new thing they're rolling out, which is their pro level control. Now, Greg, I know you've done a fair amount of Extron in the past. All three of us in our respective institutions have done a number of Crestron control systems. The fact that Extron is moving to a pro level control, and actually they're rolling out an independent control program similar to Crestron CSP and AMX's independent control programmer. Does that make us want to, or make you guys want to, at least give Extron another shot when it comes to control? Or is it the fact that you've already got all these other rooms, built around Crestron, you're not really that apt to move back to Extron? Greg, we'll start with you since you're geographically closer to Extron.
Yeah, they know where I live, although there is no blue helicopter out there at the moment, so don't tell anybody I said this. But one of my I like the direction they're. Okay, the little HDMI thing, love it. Extron is one of my favorite companies when they're doing neat, useful, innovative stuff, which they spend part of their time doing. The new touch panels and things, my reservation would be they are largely not backwards compatible with the current TouchLink stuff. So, and I don't know exactly where that dividing line is between what is compatible and what is not compatible, but if it's a case of the new Extron equipment is, over here and the old Extron equipment is over here, why is that not like adding a new control system to me? So I would need to really understand that before I considered it. And we did try some of their earlier panels, their TouchLink panels, and it has just not been a good experience. I mean, in part because I think they are clunky to a certain extent. It's lacking a lot of the polish that I think the new ones are now finally addressing. On top of that, this is a point I made during my Infocom talk there last year. The problem with a we have our programmable systems where you need a professional programmer to program, and then we have these configurable. He's doing the finger quotes again. I was told I need to stop that. You have these configurable control systems, the idea being that anybody can configure them. The problem is, what usually happens is that anybody ends up configuring them, and we've got a long history here of people doing configurations for our panels that
shouldn't be doing it.
Nowhere near configuring those panels. Thank you very much. It's a combination of the first generation being not a great product and us shooting ourselves in the foot repeatedly. But I don't know. I'd have to learn more about the panels. I'm kind of
there.
We'll see.
All right, Scott, what say you? You're the one that has the biggest Crestron rollout of the three of us. So, would it make you at least consider them as an alternative?
So, starting with follow up on what Greg said. Absolutely love that Crestron device with the HDMI 90 degree. That is some of the Extron puts out some of these coolest little things you can ever imagine. An integrator used to call them the glue of your entire system, right? Anytime you needed something kind of crazy, bam, there's Extron's equipment. And I think of even little things like the little steel cables to attach a dongle to a cable. We use those things all the time. They're fantastic. So I will tell you that after my latest blog, it wasn't out there for probably a couple hours, and Tim, not you, Tim Extron, Tim called me and was talking to me and telling me about some of the new stuff they have. And so I'm absolutely willing and happy to listen. And I think a lot of the things that Greg points out, we could probably point out about any manufacturer. Yeah. That, I know we have a technician that works for me that constantly jokes that we are Crestron's beta testers. And,
Uh-oh.
Well, there you go. Completely lost him. All right. We'll wait.
Well, that was exciting.
It was. It was very exciting.
Actually, he mentioned getting a call by Tim at Extron. About an hour after he got off his call with Tyner, he called me.
Wow. So both of you got calls from Mr. Snell.
Yeah. So I told Scott if he uses my name again in one of his essays, I'm going to kill him.
Well, I will say this. Tim is a good guy. I've known Tim for a lot of years, and he is a real smart. When it comes to education, he knows his stuff. But sometimes those conversations can get very interesting. But here's the thing. One thing I will say about Extron. Yes, we poke fun at them because of some of their management decisions and the fact that they're still not exhibiting at Infocom. But they listen, right? And you may not agree necessarily when it comes to some of the products they come out with. But you know what? Those have come out of conversations they've had with Tyner and with you and with used to be me, but with technology managers. And that was one of the cool things is when you go out to Extron training, whether it's in Anaheim or it's in Chicago or Texas or wherever, one of the things that's really neat is inevitably part of the educational experience is having either their engineers or someone that is a representative from Extron sitting down and saying, okay, what can we make for you, right? How can we make this product better? What is it that we can do to make our products or the experience better? And a lot of times they'll come up with stuff. I mean, the pole vault system was a direct derivative of conversations they had. And if you're not familiar with the pole vault system, it's one product number and it gives you a switcher.
It's an Olympic event, right? It's an Olympic event, isn't it?
Yes, it's an Olympic event. Jeez. Mr. Tyner is back, so go ahead.
I hear laughing. He must be back.
He is back.
I just disappeared for a minute. That's how I roll. The last thing I was going to say
to the hamster, right?
About Extron is so I'm willing to listen. and I think it's what Tim sounds like what he was saying when I was gone is if they're willing to listen, right? If they can come in and hear what I need to do, don't come in here and sell me your product and tell me what everybody else is doing. Come in and listen to what I'm doing, and if your product can do that, awesome.
I still think they should be at the show.
That's a long old story.
Yeah, you know.
No, and I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you at all. You know, that's one thing that we have. When I've talked to Tim about it and others at Extron, you know, I still question them because there's value there. I disagree with Mr. Edwards' assessment that nobody goes to trade shows anymore, because they do. You know, last year Infocom had their biggest ever, and it was in Orlando, which is typically the smaller of the two. And you know, it's only getting bigger. ISC exceeded their previous year's attendance numbers, so people do go, and there's value there.
But but don't you think though that Extron has some marketing people looking at this? Don't you think that they're studying to see if some of their market has changed over the past 2 years?
Yeah. Possibly.
I'm you know, I don't want to get into all the rumors, but it smacks of something far more selfish than that, because look, by not being at the show, many of us don't have the same access to the training that we did when they were actually there and doing training, and you don't have Extron folks who are in some of these classes with, you know, face it, all the people who are our smartest and most intellectual folks in the AV world are doing presentations there at the show. You don't have Extron folks in those sessions anymore.
Yeah.
It's like they don't need the show, regardless of what went on. That smacks of just something far too selfish, I think, to really be a smart decision.
Well, and to Greg's point, when it comes to, you know, missing a segment of the industry, I have a lot of friends at both Crestron and AMX and Aurora and other places like that. Really smart, really great folks. Extron does belong in that conversation, and the fact that they have removed themselves from it, like Greg says, they're not presenting, they're not educating, and you can't do a class if you're not exhibiting it at Infocom. So they have taken themselves out of the educational experience. Granted, it's for 1 week. Yes, you can go to Anaheim. Yes, you can go to their other educational places. But for some people, you know, they get one trip a year, right? And you've got to make the most use of your time and your money. And honestly, Infocom would be a better use because you get a broader experience than just going to one manufacturer's training.
If it was really about the cost and the huge expense of the booth and all that, get a small booth, have 2 or 3 guys, have all the common brochures, maybe a handful of the newest equipment, and just do it small. Have, you know, a bunch of guys go out there in a van as opposed to 16 semis or whatever it was. You know, that would have been decreasing the cost of the show, not seeing it as a good investment of money, but still being able to maintain that providing the education and receiving the education. Yeah. To just dump it all, I think it's just was a incredibly selfish move on their part.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to something else that we have no control over whatsoever. That's the FCC.
This show?
Well, this show would be one of them, yes. If you are unaware and you work in the education field, please get aware. You're about to lose a segment of your wireless systems. Yes, we went through this a couple years ago, if you remember. So now you're going to lose some more. When it comes to wireless systems, and I have one of my dearest friends, Michael Drainer, works for Sennheiser, and so he and I have talked about this quite a bit over the last 6 months. When it comes to stuff like this, Greg, is this something where you guys are watching? Is it just one of those things where, oh, hey, by the way, one day you're gonna wake up and, you know, you're gonna find, you know, somebody's cell phone on one of your wireless systems? Is it a big deal for education, or is it not as big a deal as I think it is?
it's a big deal. It hasn't, knock on wood, it hasn't been as or fine laminate. It hasn't been as big of a deal as I thought it would be. We were caught up in that last change and tossed out 100 and some odd 800. We were up like in the 870 or 880 megahertz diversity wireless systems, to the tune
The
of
700 megahertz.
God, ours, they were in that band. Ours were literally up in like the 880s or something like that. So we tossed out, over 100 systems, and we rolled out these, which are, I think we're down in the 650s, 660s. We're right in the middle of, sandwiched in between some of the TV stations now. And I thought we would have more trouble than we have. I mean, Los Angeles is kind of a high RF environment, but we've been okay. We end up, we get interference from random things occasionally. Usually it's on a room-by-room basis, and if it happens more than a time or two, we've been able to switch frequencies, and so it hasn't been insurmountable. But the nice thing about this is that it sounds like the FCC has finally come to realize that there are people with wireless microphones. This is apparently a new concept to them, and they've acknowledged the existence of those of us who are using these little bands in between like TV stations, that they were ready to move all the TV stations again and auction off the whole spectrum. And they seem to know about us. Whether that'll save us, I think the jury is still out on that, but it's sounding a little bit more positive than it has in a very long time. This was sounding just like, this was round 2 of the same song and dance all over again. Yeah. So this sounds a little bit more positive. We'll see how it works out.
Yeah, Scott, with the fact that a few years ago we lost the 700, now we're going to lose eventually the 600 megahertz band. But the proposal rules, or the proposed plan, is we can still use it until the new owners take up and start using it extensively. Is this a good thing? Is this, the FCC, at least, like Greg says, acknowledging the fact that, hey, there's people using this wireless space currently?
Yeah, it makes you wonder why they are not able to set out a, 15, 20-year plan so that we know what's going on. It's great that they let us keep using it. Here's what I think. I'd be willing to wager that somewhere between 50% to 60% of tech managers never even changed out their microphones the first time.
Well, yeah, there's that.
Yeah, that there's just
that I've heard that.
It's education. It's think of all those microphones that are out there in schools. Like Greg said, particularly now that we're doing class capture and all kinds of stuff in our rooms. There's just thousands of microphones, and there are people. I understand it enough to know I've got to get rid of microphones that were made before this date in this band. But when you start talking about TV stations are on this band and cell phones are on that band, I don't actually get all of that. And so for me, so then there's people that don't even all those poor people that don't listen to AVNation, that don't even know that 4 years ago they were supposed to get rid of a bunch of microphones. I think that's
the 800 megahertz band is going away.
What?
Yeah, I think that's the bigger issue, is that people. It's how do you get this information out to people and have them really understand what it means and what they need to do.
Go ahead, Greg.
There's no RF in Maine, is there?
It's interesting. We've got all kinds of weird issues, and part of it is because Lewiston is somewhat of a small town. We have an ambulance service on one side of us, 2 hospitals on another side of us, and so there's all kinds of radio traffic going on all around us all the time. We run into some really weird RF issues with microphones on our campus that we have not always been able to explain, but have at times made us
scratch your head and go.
Well, I'm trying to think of a nice way of saying has scared us when you're sitting in a room and some very loud noise comes over the speakers out of the blue.
Nice.
Yeah, we've gotten that too. I think some of that is actually, cell phones and things like that. You get the instructor who's like pounding on the media equipment because it keeps making strange noises, and they're standing there with their cell phone ringing. It's like,
yeah.
Point A, point B. Let's draw the little dotted line in between them here.
Well, let me ask you guys this, because I have heard interesting, not rumors, I've heard interesting theories.
Innuendo?
Not innuendo.
We love rumors and innuendo.
I know. But it's a way around this whole megahertz thing in general, right? It's everything from lasers to, oddly enough, IR, wireless mic systems, and things that possibly might even tap into cell phone technology. Are we going to get to a point? I mean, where is this going to end up? Because the FCC has proven the fact that they really like $2 and $3 billion for these spectrums. So, are we going to need to just say, you know what, let's chuck the entire wireless system and do something different, or just do wired?
What's the alternative? There really isn't an alternative yet. I mean, you mentioned IR, and hello, all of my hearing assist systems are infrared.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
that's a good possibility.
There's another coordination of frequencies things.
Yeah, but the FCC doesn't know about that one, so don't tell them.
Yeah, they haven't heard of light yet, thank God.
Oh goodness! All right, we're gonna take a quick break here and talk to about our buddies over at Middle Atlantic. They have a brand spanking new website. Middle Atlantic is the sponsor of all of our AVNation podcasts. Check them out if you would.
Atlantic.
Huh?
We like Middle Atlantic.
We like Middle Atlantic. And you.
I just hope that LeGrand doesn't screw up their webpage.
No, it's a new pretty webpage. But anyhow, so they've got a new webpage. It's more customer focused, all sorts of stuff. A live chat feature that lets you talk to people from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern time. So Greg, you can talk to them as well as Scott and I can. So there you go.
Does it need to be about Middle Atlantic, or can it just be like, hey guys,
let's hang on.
Cold day in Maine today.
Hang on.
Maine, New Jersey, they're right next door, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's gotta have this. You would have different weather?
Huh? No, they'd have different weather. Are you kidding me? That's a silly question. It's probably just ask them what it is. You can talk to them about sports. I'm sure. Do it
right.
Yeah. Just don't tell them.
The Bruins are done. I don't want to talk about sports.
I'm sorry. The Blues have been done for quite a while.
We could talk about hockey.
We can talk about hockey, but not right now. They've got. I'm trying to get to this.
My joke around here in the office is I follow hockey and auto racing. There is no one for me to talk sports with.
I'm sorry.
Well, auto racing's not a sport.
It's not. Oh, yeah. There goes all of our southern listeners. They've got a section that demonstrates all sorts of different solutions: commercial AV, broadcast, residential AV, security, structured cabling, all sorts of stuff.
We're
videos.
still talking about Middle Atlantic.
We are still talking about Middle Atlantic. At least I'm attempting to. We've got videos that let you.
Tried to use their credenzas in a project just recently. I love their credenzas.
I do love their credenzas.
Hey, Greg, I think he's trying to get through a...
No, he's fine. I like their credenzas. I love their credenzas. I actually wish that we were still doing...
Tyner, why would we change the show at this point? And actually introduce, production values and some level of sanity and smoothness and going from that point A to point B in some sort of straight line without various rabbit trails and tangents.
See, this is the part where I play for potential advertisers the entertainment fact of AVNation.
Well, I'm just laughing as Tim keeps putting up this website. Then Greg talks and the website goes away, and Tim's like, "Get the website back on."
Yeah, it's fine. It's good. All right, go by the website if you would, please. MiddleAtlantic.com and their new customer-focused website. Check out the chat feature. Ask them what the weather's like in Jersey and let us know. MiddleAtlantic.com. Middle Atlantic Products, what great systems are built on. Good night.
We like Middle Atlantic even if we talk over there.
I can't charge them for that one at all. NEC. Let's talk about some projectors for a couple minutes. Both NEC and ASK Proxima. NEC, new 6200 lumen, woohoo, with built-in HD base T. So, HD base T, AVB, these other little possible, HD video over twisted pair solutions. I hesitate in saying Cat 5, but Cat 5 is kind of the ubiquitous term we'll use. Scott, when it comes to stuff like this, where is this going to end up? Are we going to have, a projector, whether it's NEC or ASK or Panasonic or whoever, with like 4 or 5 different RJ45 jacks on the back? You plug in this one for AVB, this one for HD base T, this one for Crestnet, this one for Extron's version and AMX's version. Are we going to get to some sort of agreement here on a standard that we all can agree on, and just one RJ45 for network and everything?
I don't know why they'd want to come to a standard, to be frank. I don't know why these companies would want to. Obviously the projector manufacturers would like to, because you'd be able to say we can accept any of the control system manufacturers' equipment. But whether you're Crestron, AMX, Extron, Kramer, by going towards those standards, you're saying you can use anybody's equipment here, and I don't really see the benefit to those companies in that. I think the future, and I don't know when we get there, is going to be Ethernet. As we will come to know Ethernet, there'll be a network connection, and everything will get transferred via that network connection. I think HD base T will continue to be around for more years until we get that done. But I think we're still in a place where we're not really sure yet what the full standard's going to be. I talked to a company the other day that is essentially doing streaming over the internet from appliance to appliance, or not over the internet but over your network. That seems to be working pretty well. So I think that's definitely the place we're going. It's just like you said, what does it look like? I'm not sure.
Greg, what does it look like at the end of the day? Is Scott right? And you are right, Scott, by the way, when it comes to the projector manufacturers would love a single one, because then they only have to accommodate one. Or when they're making their business decision, they don't have to get in one camp or another. This is not HD DVD and Blu-ray. They can just kind of do one. Mr. Brown, where are we going with this whole video over internet thing? I
agree with you, and that Scott is right on this one. We don't really know. What was our late great friend Matt Silverman's line? The great thing about standards is there are so many of them. I'm not sure how that all is going to work out. HD base T seems like a nice thing. I'm glad to see people using it. This looks like a good projector. We just put in an order here at the end of the fiscal for $250,000 worth of projectors, largely to replace some dear, much loved NEC GT6000s, some of which are pushing 8 years old, SXGA plus. I believe probably my last 4x3 projectors. And if I'd known about these, I would have liked to have maybe done a comparison, but this, you find out a day or two in advance you need to spend $250,000. You kind of go with stuff so that's what we did.
Okay, so that's actually a good way to move into our next one. An old friend of mine and actually of AVNation, Sam Malik, who used to run Sanyo in the U.S., has a new job at ASK Proxima, and it's not somebody that I've used. Good Lord, it was 10, 12 years ago last time I used an ASK Proxima, and they're revamping. They're doing stuff like that. They have got a couple of really cool, the specs are interesting on them. Stuff like freaking actual HD projectors for $700-800. The one that we'll put a link on it from Commercial Integrator. This one is 3200 lumens, 4001 contrast ratio. But to your point, Mr. Brown, I've not used it, right? So when your budget people come down and say, "Hey, I need you need to spend $250,000 on projectors," you're going to go with something that you know. So how do guys like Sam and people like when BenQ first started getting in the market, and I had never heard of them before, that people were asking me, and I said, same thing, I've never used them. How do people like ASK get into yours and Scott's and other institutions when it comes to getting you to use their product?
Well, continuing the theme of the haters gonna hate episode of AV Nation, on that list of equipment you probably couldn't pay me to use, in second spot in behind Smart is probably ASK Proxima.
Oh wow.
I had maybe about 20 or 30 of their projectors. They have all since been pulled out of service because they had a 2-year warranty, and literally within 2 or 3 months of the warranty ending, probably 80% of them failed. So it was and we'd been installing them for like 2 years or something like that. So
yeah.
All of a sudden they started dropping like flies, and we could see what was going to happen, and it was ugly. We had to jump in with some little Panasonics and replace stuff, proactively, and had some custom lens or some it had interchangeable lenses, and so we were juggling lenses to get projectors into rooms we were having a hard time fitting a projector back into. It was a really miserable time, and like I said, all but a couple of them died within a few months of their second anniversary. And we talked to somebody at the company at the time. I probably would love to mention their name and toss them under the bus, but I don't remember who it was. Like I said, continuing the theme of the day, but their attitude was largely, hey, sorry, they're out of warranty.
Wow.
Yeah, 2 or 3 months out of 2 years, and so I like Sam. Glad Sam is there. I hope they've and we actually had a brief conversation about this at one point, and I hope they turn things around, and I would like to hear that they've turned things around. But as for me, not something I'm speccing anytime soon. Sorry.
Okay. No, and that's fair. I mean, here's the thing: there are certain people that I won't, spec because bad experiences. Mr. Tyner, when it comes to people like BenQ and ASK and new projectors and trying to revamp or re-image a company, how do they get into your establishment if they don't have one, if they don't have a presence already?
So as we've talked about a few times, the first thing they've got to do is make a phone call and get over here. A very short story about this latest blog post I wrote. Had a few people call. I had one person from a projector company that I'm not going to mention that sent me an email that said, "Hey, heard you're in the market for some projectors. Here's a PDF. Call me if you need something." That was the sales.
This was before or after he read your article?
Wow.
Or
after. That was his sales outreach to me.
After.
It's a great point, right? Because what is it? What is it? Good question. What does it take to get somebody to switch? So I think I've thought a lot about this. First of all, you have to come here and you have to show me a product that is good. It doesn't have to be fantastic, right? Because really, most of these projectors, in particular, are all the same. I mean, half of them are made by the same companies. Yeah. So I think lampless is good. I think filterless is good. Cost and warranty, are important, but I'm not going to switch projector manufacturers to save $50 on a projector. So, but Greg hit on it, right? Customer service. If you can somehow show me that your customer service is top notch, and you can give me references that are going to show, you call and you don't go through 45 minutes of talking to level 1 tech, convincing them that you know what the problem is. That's going to be huge for me, because that's a major waste of my time is waiting, to get asked ridiculous questions like, is it plugged in, is it turned on,
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And then beyond that, and I don't even know if this makes any sense to companies out there, but if you walked in here tomorrow and wanted me to use a ASK Proxima, you might have to leave one with me for a few months. Let me put one up in a classroom and see what happens, see how it works with my systems and my programming. And I don't have to keep. You can come get it when you're done, when I'm done with it. But I think that you might have to do
after
that.
the Super Bowl is over.
Yeah, you have to make a real effort, because the saving $25 or getting one extra year in a warranty is not going to make me go with something I don't know, even if what I've, it's like, the devil
Yes.
is worse than the devil you don't. I've got some issues with the projectors we have, but I know what they are.
No, that's a good point. That's a very good point. You were laughing, Mr. Brown.
No, and I agree with everything he said. And these failures we had, these were optical block failures. They were not repairable things. They were, you toss the darn thing out because it is not something you can afford to fix.
Nice, very nice. All right, a couple things real quick. First of all, a big, they call it a Roomba, architectural Roomba. This sucker lets you print your CADs on the ground, your CAD drawings on the ground. I just thought it was cool, so I don't know. I got nothing on this one.
And we are going to wager how much that even if you put the plans on the ground or on the floor in the renovated or the new building, that somebody is not going to find a way to screw up something.
No, come on. If you put it on the ground, I mean, what's the likelihood of them screwing that up?
They'll put the wall in upside down.
All right. All right. Here's something else from this is from Legrand, actually. It lets you hide the AV equipment. It's a projector mount that hides the AV equipment. This is nothing new. Extron has a number of these. Everybody has a number of these. My question for you guys is this: really, is that important? Is hiding the equipment from your professors and the faculty important when it comes to installations?
I think they're marketing this stuff wrong.
Okay.
I'm about to use this on a project for not this one specifically, but something similar, for a department here on campus, and it's because we don't have the floor space. It's a little computer room, and between all the little computer tables and the instructor station, you want to put something in, we don't have the room for it. And so these are an alternative to put a lot of stuff that you don't necessarily need to get to that often, someplace other than in a cabinet or in a closet or in another room or something like that.
Could you not do like a wall-mounted rack?
The room has a. I wasn't going to go into all this detail, but
I just asking.
In for a penny, in for a pound. We do have one of those tilt-down Extron cabinets. Mm-hmm. That has room for a little button panel and a deck and an amplifier.
Yeah.
They want to put in a whole control system.
Oh.
They want to go Crestron touch panel control system, and a bunch of wireless mics and a Vadio USB bridge, some cameras. They want to, and so like a full-blown switcher. I got 4 rack spaces and they're taken already.
Yeah.
And they want to keep the combo deck. Yes, by God, we
geez.
can't have a room without a combo deck on this campus. It seems.
It is 2014, dude.
And we are still installing them. Where
are you getting them now? Just out of curiosity.
Actually, Magnavox and Toshiba still make some crappy little DVD VHS combo decks, and yes, it offends my delicate sensibilities to admit to using them, but sometimes we just sell our souls in this job. So yeah, that's what I'm actually finding them useful for is getting all this stuff, putting some of this stuff someplace other than, taking up floor space or my computer wants to restart.
Don't do
that's
it.
rather alarming. No, I'm okay. Gosh, that was kind of scary. Because even stuff that tilts down ends up taking up space because it ends up tilted down most of the time. So I think some of the folks are missing, marketing this the right way. Although I was wondering, isn't this a Middle Atlantic product? This is sort of why I mentioned I had that my comment about Legrand earlier.
Oh.
Isn't this a Middle Atlantic product that is coming out under the Legrand banner? And I hope we don't all of a sudden just suck everything under the Legrand banner and can't find anything like that anymore, because that's what happened with Raxus. Raxus became part of Chief, and then everything ended up on the Chief webpage, and you couldn't find it anymore.
Well, I hope not, because I like the folks that are like so.
Yeah.
Scott, is this something that's useful, hiding and keeping the equipment out of the way?
In general, no. We have our classrooms that have standard podiums. I think that they're very special cases, like Greg just spoke about. We could certainly use them if you were doing some kind of projector in a hallway, or a lobby that you didn't want stuff to be seen. As a tech manager who has a technician and engineer that work for me, I look at this and I go, what that means is when something goes wrong, somebody's got to get a ladder, climb up there and reset that. There's just that real practical piece of it. But certainly there are times when you look and you say, I could just throw this on the ceiling tile up there. But especially this with the thermostatic controls in there, it's a pretty interesting product. And I would think that it's the kind of thing that you keep in the back of your mind. And, once or twice in our environment, I don't know, in larger places, but certainly as a designer that, the work that you do, Tim, it's good to know that such a thing exists, and in certain applications you could use it.
Yeah, absolutely.
One other difference that we have here that might not affect a lot of the smaller campuses is, to a large extent, our rooms, our general assignment classrooms, they have gone through and stuffed in as many chairs as they can fit. It has been largely about getting as many students into whatever size room possible. And so space is very much a premium in a lot of our spaces.
Well, I would also imagine, Greg, that in California, you have to pay, obviously, you have to pay more attention to earthquake and safety issues. Yeah. And so, throwing a box up above a suspended ceiling maybe isn't the best thing to do in Maine, but it'll work. Up in California, that's just not going to fly.
We can do it. It just there are ways that things have to be braced and tied and stuff like that. Somebody, I don't know whether you guys saw it. Somebody did an article recently that talked about hanging a projector from a odd angled ceiling and ended up with a black iron pipe that must have been the better part of like 15 feet long. Something like that actually would not fly here. Any sort of long hanging sort of thing like that has to be side braced. So most of our projector pipes are not more than, I don't know what the number is, our sheet metal folks in facilities know, but anything more than a couple feet hanging down has to have something off, like a unistrut anchor off to the side, because it's the swaying that will also cause stuff to start breaking loose.
Oh wow.
But generally, we put tile speakers and can speakers up in the ceiling all the time, and we chain them or wire them down so they don't go anywhere if the grid does. But other than that, we don't have too many issues that affect us on a day-to-day basis.
Good deal. All right, guys, wrapping up here. Let's talk about Infocom real quickly. A buddy of ours, Steve Greenblatt and Mark Lavecchia, are putting together an event for technology managers. It's taking place on Tuesday, June 17th, at Infocom. If you are interested, you can go to controlconcepts.net/Tech Talk. There is a cost for the event, honestly, just to cover the cost of dinner. But it is at 5:30 at Gordon Brewery Restaurant. If you go and let us know that you want to go, there's a VIP code that gives you a discount. So, but if you're interested and you are a tech manager, please go by. Oops, that was my Hootsuite. The Technology Managers Tech Talk. So check that out if you would, please. All right, guys. Anybody else have anything? Anything groovy? Nothing?
Nothing groovy, no.
Well,
Discovered that Panasonic warranty.
Oh, yeah, the 5-year, Panasonic now has 5-year warranty.
Well, this is a promo until I think it was the end of September on. Yeah. It looked like it was all their like mid and large size projectors. It covered these ones that we just ordered here. That of
course it does. You just spent $250 million on them.
Well, yeah, maybe that should include an increased warranty.
You think?
This is, and any of you in the great unwashed masses out there can get a 5-year warranty on Panasonic projectors, and I told them I'd mention that if they sent me a flyer on it, which they did.
You remind me of my first Infocom many years ago. I had a conversation with the guys from Boston College, and they were bemoaning the fact that their technology budget got cut from $2.5 million down to $2 million. And I was sitting there being a little tech manager from a community college that was lucky to scrape by with $35,000. So little Mr. Pallets of projectors. So
yeah, I've got a lot of friends here. We have the UCs, which we like to think of ourselves as the.
Oh, you're better than everybody else, yeah.
Well, we like to. Well, actually, to talk to some of us, yes. There are some arrogant whats in the UC system, but we have the UCs and then we have the Cal States and then the community college district. I have a whole lot of friends in the Cal State circuit, and wonderful folks. Although a couple of them have told me that they would kill me if it got them my tech budget. So
I could see that, yeah.
Fortunately, our budget system doesn't work that way, so I'm safe.
Oh, well, give it time.
If they were to kill you, Greg, then they could take your job.
Exactly.
And would therefore have your budget.
They would therefore have your budget.
Yeah, this is true.
Greg's like, oh,
now wait a second. I'm not sure. Tossing manufacturers under the bus, I'm on board with, but I think we've crossed a line.
That's it. Knock off Greg for his budget.
Oh.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Scott Tyner, blogger extraordinaire, technology manager extraordinaire, and a fine human being. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. I'm going to change my Twitter profile to that exact description.
Where can people find you and your writings?
Certainly at Rave Pubs. I'm on Twitter often at STyner and LinkedIn, although I'm not quite as active in LinkedIn as our colleague here, Greg Brown.
I don't think anybody is. Mr. Brown, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Twitter and LinkedIn and Infocom All Voices blog. Okay. And actually, a lot of the stuff I put on LinkedIn, I'm tweeting at the same time, so it's largely a lot of the same material.
Same stuff.
So.
Okay. And if people are interested in joining the Technology Managers group, how do they do that, and when is the meeting?
Actually, yeah, the meeting is Wednesday of Infocom. The Technology Managers Council meeting is at 3, and the soiree is at 5. And let me look up that info here. Yeah, Wednesday the 18th, the council meeting is from 3 to 5, and if you're not a member of the Technology Managers Council, but you are a technology manager, come to the Technology Managers Mixer. That's Wednesday the 18th from 5 to 6:30 in Pavilion 4 of the LVH.
There you go.
Mixer.
The Mixer.
I can't tell if that's a middle school dance or like a nursing home thing.
Well, technology managers is probably a little bit of both.
Jeez. All right. Well, if you are not a technology manager and you want to go to a party at the exact same time, because I'm an idiot and didn't realize
Oh
it.
yeah, there's something else going on.
Oh, there's
at that
always
time,
something
isn't
going. It's
there?
Infocom, dude. I mean, if you don't have 3 things booked at the exact same time, you're not doing it right. We're having a party. AVNation is hosting the AV Tweeps Tweet Up again. You don't have to be on Twitter to come. Just come by. Enjoy the drinks. Enjoy the food. This week we will start promoting and telling you who the sponsors are. They're really great people, but they're making it possible. So yeah, don't bring your wallet. Just bring yourself and your little badge, and we'll have some fun. We've got some giveaways to do so. So that's 4:30 to 6:30 on the exact same day.
I'll be there for a little while.
Okay.
Before I go to the Technology Managers Council mixer.
I'll be in Maine pouting.
We'll have to. I don't know. Do something.
We'll pack up some stale hotel hors d'oeuvres and send them out
Email
to
them
you.
to you. Yeah.
Email them.
I don't
You
know.
can feed
Email
them
you
to
a
the moose
picture.
out there.
Yeah, tweet me a picture.
All right. But yeah, go by the website. There's more information on that. Don't follow me, but avnation.tv. Avnation.tv. This program, tons of others. We will be at Infocom in a fancy schmancy booth at N217. N is in Nancy 217. That's the North Hall, which is the same one as Microsoft. We're nowhere near Microsoft, but we're in the same hall as Microsoft. So there you go. So yeah, come by, say hey. We'll be doing interviews and all sorts of stuff. We'll be recording AV Week that week live from Infocom. So yeah, come by, say hey. And before that, go by the website, avnation.tv. AVNation.tv. AVNation and AV Week and AV EdTech is all brought to you by Middle Atlantic. And their new customer-focused website, Middle Atlantic Products, what great systems are built on. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for watching. This has been EdTech.